is so dense. I don't know what I expected, but it was not that. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Recipe by Request. No, I'm not wearing a shirt, and no, I won't put one on. If you're new to the channel, my name is Christian, and in this baking series, I test viral recipes or recipes of interest as submitted by my subscribers. So if you're like me and have a bunch of saved recipes that you haven't gotten around to making, or you've seen people make things and don't know if you can do it, or if you've seen a recipe and you just don't know if it's worth the time and effort, you send it my way and I test it out for you. So today's requested recipe actually comes in from my current #1 fan, Angela. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and sending through this recipe. So today we have been requested to make a decadent dark chocolate beetroot cake. And this is exactly what this series is about. You know, recipes that just seem really strange or out there and you really want to try, but you don't want to put the time and effort into it. Let me be your guinea pig and I'll bite the bullet for you. Beetroot cake kind of makes me think of a carrot cake. You know, it's a sweet, like root kind of vegetable that you don't really expect to see in cakes, but you know, if you saw this one, you know how well that turned out. So hopefully if this beetroot cake is anything like a carrot cake, it works out well. Now, my only concern going into this is like the differences that you'll find between like an egg and a beetroot. You know, you can beat an egg, but you can't beat a root. Okay, I'm sorry, that was terrible. Let's just make this thing. Okay, this recipe is a little labor intensive, but we'll start with a medium saucepan. We'll add 250 grams of chopped unsalted butter, 200 grams of chopped dark chocolate, 500 grams of peeled diced beetroot, 300 grams of brown sugar. Start questioning whether you should get a larger saucepan. Transfer to a larger saucepan because this was nowhere near big enough. And lastly, 125 mils of full cream milk. We're going to place this on low heat, stirring occasionally until the butter and dark chocolate are completely melted. We'll then increase the heat to medium-high, bring it to a simmer, and once simmering, reduce the heat to low. Allow that to simmer for 5 minutes, remove it from the heat, and set aside for 20 minutes to cool. Then, using a stick blender or a blender, we're going to blend that chocolate mixture until nice and smooth, and set that aside for an hour to completely cool. While this mixture is cooling, let's preheat our oven to 170 degrees Celsius. We're going to grease and line a 9-inch round cake pan. Now, to this chocolate mixture, we'll add 180 grams of self-raising flour, 160 grams of all-purpose flour, and 28 grams of cocoa powder, whisking to combine. We'll then add 10 mils or 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and 2 beaten eggs, whisking until completely mixed through. We'll then pour this mixture into our prepared pan and bake for 1 hour and 10 minutes until a skewer inserted into the center of the cake comes out with some moist crumbs clinging to it. Remove it from the oven and allow the cake to cool completely in the pan. Now, while the cake is cooling, we can work on our garnishes. And the first one I'm very excited for. We're gonna make some candied raspberries. We'll start by increasing the oven temperature to 220 degrees Celsius and line a large baking tray with baking paper. Place 2 cups of frozen raspberries and 70 grams of caster sugar in a bowl, tossing to combine, and then place these on a prepared tray. We'll bake for 10 minutes, stir, bake for a further 5 to 10 until syrup just starts to brown around the edges. Remove from the oven and set aside to cool completely. And lastly, for our dark chocolate ganache, we'll place 200 grams of chopped dark chocolate, 200 grams of chopped milk chocolate, and 160 mils of thickened cream in a large microwave-safe bowl and microwave in 30-second intervals until melted and smooth. Oh, there are a few steps and a few elements, but all in all, I think they came together quite well. So The cake came together pretty easily. Yes, you had to cook things on the stove and wait for them to cool and chuck them in a blender, so it's a little bit more laborious than like a normal cake recipe, but all in all, the steps weren't too difficult. But tips, things that I found along the way that I might pass on to you, Angela, and anyone else that wants to make the recipe. Now, first tip, the recipe made a much more batter than I was expecting it to. So I had a slightly smaller pan than recommended. I think it recommended a 9-inch pan. I only had an 8-inch pan. The excess batter I had was enough to make 6 extra cupcakes on top of this cake here. So even if you're using a 9-inch cake pan, maybe still expect some extra batter. Not the end of the world, but just something I noticed while making the recipe. Secondly, the candied raspberries. It's less of a hard candy of a raspberry and more like we're making a raspberry coulis. So I was expecting them to get really firm and crispy while in the oven, but they're not. They're gonna be very gooey. The whole point is just to melt the sugar, and even when it cools, it stays really gooey. It doesn't firm up like you'd think so when you're candying something. Don't expect a really firm, crisp raspberry. It's gonna be gooey on top, which is fine, but that's not what I was expecting when I was making candied raspberries. Tip number 3, I'd suggest leaving it in the fridge overnight. 1, so the ganache can set, and 2, the entire consistency of this cake has changed. It's very dense. I can feel by the weight of it, I can feel by the weight of the little cupcakes, how dense they are. Going into a dense cake, I wasn't too excited to try it, but now that it's had time to sit in the fridge overnight, it's turned into this real fudgy looking cake, which makes sense because the batter's made with, melted dark chocolate and brown sugar, and then I guess the beetroot. So hopefully texturally this improves it. It's gonna be it looks just like a chocolate mud cake. Whereas yesterday it didn't, it just looked like a very dense sponge cake. So yeah, tip number 3, leave it in the fridge overnight and hopefully that makes some textural differences. So all in all, cake recipe wasn't too difficult. You just follow the steps, let it cool down. The batter is very, very thick. I actually broke my whisk on it, which is a little annoying, but not too difficult to make. Candied raspberries, also really easy. You toss them, coat them, chuck them in the oven, and then the ganache is even easier. In a bowl, microwave until melted and let it cool. So all in all, the steps for the recipe weren't difficult. Skills, practicality wise, I don't think you need anything special. So if you're concerned about that, very easy to do. It's just those little tips and tricks that I said, things to look out for while making it. Now all that's left is to try it and hopefully all this effort makes something great. It is so dense. It is so dense. It's like sticking to the fork. I don't know what I expected, but it was not that. Yum. Wow. I'm actually really surprised. It's not beetrooty at all. Yum. Oh wow. It's just a dense chocolatey mud cake. That's actually really good. Wow. I'm actually really surprised by that. It's actually really, really nice. You can't tell there's beetroot in it at all. I don't know, I'm actually very, very surprised at how non-beetrooty and how chocolatey and fudgy that is. That's actually really, really good. Okay, I'll compose myself. I'm gonna finish this. I'll come back and we'll rate, review, and score the cake. All in all, it's actually a really lovely cake. It doesn't taste like beetroot. It just tastes like a dark chocolatey, fudgy mud cake. It's really nice. It's not overpowering. It's just so dense and fudgy, and something about it, it's like, if you're an Aussie, it's like eating a Woolies mud cake, but denser and fudgier. It really blows the lines between fudge and cake. So texturally, it's actually really, really good. It's so dense cutting through that. It's very heavy, so you don't need a big piece, but it's just so fudgy and so dense. It's actually really, really pleasant. It literally looks like you've got 2 pieces of fudge stacked on top of each other with a ganache in between it. So I think the beetroot here is less of a flavor enhancer, more of a textural enhancer, because it just helps to create these real fudgy layers. It's a little dry, but mud cakes can be like that. It doesn't look dry, it looks so you can see the sheen on it like it's moist, but when eating it, it's a little dry, so make sure you serve it with cream. If you eat it before you've had a chance to let it set overnight, I don't think you'd really enjoy it. I got my housemate to try one of the little mini cupcakes yesterday before anything had set, and he said it still tasted very beetrooty, and it was just dense. I think leaving it in the fridge overnight allows those beetroot flavors to take a back seat, accentuates the chocolate flavors, and then creates this fudgy texture. So I think it's almost a necessity to make sure it sits in the fridge overnight to make this shine. Overall, I'll probably give it a 7.5 out of 10. The candied raspberries on top helps create some flavor balances with the tartness and the acidity. It really does need some cream, and it's just very, very dense. It's a really, really lovely cake. I wasn't like, my head wasn't boom when eating it. It was just a really nice welcome surprise. It was really, really lovely. It's not wow, but it's like, this is good. I'm enjoying this. Really, really lovely cake. So we give this 7.5. And there we have 2. I was expecting this to fail. The recipe doesn't have any reviews, it doesn't have any stars, so I really thought this was just gonna collapse on itself. I was not excited to try it, but man, I'm eating my words in this cake. It was such a nice, pleasant surprise. Just that rich, fudgy chocolate cake. It's actually really, really good. Keep it cool. Serve it with some cream. It's a really pleasant cake. Well, that just about wraps up another episode of Recipe by Request. Thank you so much, Angela, for requesting this recipe. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can stay up to date on some of my future trials, and also so you can stay up to date for my other baking series, Roll for Cake, where we use random dice rolls to randomly create cake combinations and bake and rate those combinations. And if you too want to be involved in Recipe by Request or Roll for Cake, follow the link in my profile so you can send through a recipe or your rolls, and I'll bake you what you want. Once again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode.